Remember on Wednesday when I said you can't win your fantasy leagues in the first few rounds of your draft, but I said you can definitely lose it? Well, today I'm going to be giving you 5 of the most overvalued players in your drafts that you need to stay away from at their current draft price. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want a part 2 to this, and let me know down in the comments some of the guys you're avoiding this year in fantasy drafts. But before we get into that, if you enjoy the channel at any point, please support us down below, whether if you subscribe or just like the video. It all goes a very long way as we're on the road to 500 subscribers on the channel. Man, that's crazy to say, but we can't get there without y'all. So without further ado, let's get into these overvalued players. We're going to start here with Dameon Pierce, and I might be in the minority with this one, but so be it. On one side, I see why there's the believers, right? As he was 4th in rushing yards after contact. He was 2nd in broken tackles last year. He can make something crazy happen on any given play. But on the other side, he's not very efficient, and this team only added backfield competition this past offseason. They brought in Devin Singletary from the Buffalo Bills, and he was brought in to lighten the load of Dameon Pierce. But in games where Dameon Pierce had under 20 touches, he only averaged 8 points per game, right? And we have to worry about that now with Devin Singletary coming in and taking more touches away from Dameon Pierce. However, on the flip side, when Dameon Pierce had more than 20 touches in a single game, he averaged about 16 fantasy points per game, right? So it's really a night and day difference, but with the competition only being brought in, it's hard to see Dameon Pierce hitting that ceiling of 20 touches a game each and every game, right? But with this being a bad offense that projects to pass the ball a lot, be down a lot, and have to catch up through the air, with the added competition and Devin Singletary in the backfield, a 4th round draft price is just too high to me, as he's right now going as running back 16. We're going to move over here to Ken Walker III, and he's a guy that I've been, it sucks to move him down my draft boards and my projections because I love the talent, right? But as far as draft price, RB15, again, is too high for me. And not many running backs were drafted in the first 2 rounds of this past draft, right? But the Seahawks grabbed one of them, and they drafted Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. That kind of rhymed there. But in the 2nd round, so the draft capital is there. The Seahawks plan to use Zach Charbonnet from day one. And Charbonnet's coming in as a guy who will be the receiving back in this offense. That's going to limit the upside of Ken Walker, as Charbonnet should get all of the 3rd down work and all the receiving work. And Zach Charbonnet, per all reports, he's also a better pass protector than Ken Walker. So if Seattle gets down early in games by chance, right? Who's going to be on the field? Who is Seattle going to trust more if Zach Charbonnet is a better receiver and he's a better pass protector? Who are they going to trust more late in games? Like I said, Ken Walker, I love the talent, super talented back, and no one is denying that. And we know that Pete Carroll loves Ken Walker, but given his situation, he's not the 15th best running back to me, and I believe his draft price is just too high. Maybe if he falls a round or two to the end of the 5th or to the middle of the 6th round, that's when I think I'd be pulling the trigger on a Ken Walker. But moving over to the receiver position, in DEEBO Samuel, right? He's on the thumbnail of this video. But this is a guy that only had 3 finishes as wide receiver 20 or better last year, right? This offense projects to be just about the same as last year, right? Not the most pass-focused offense, which limits the upside of DEEBO Samuel. But on a per-game basis last year, Brandon Ayuk outscored DEEBO Samuel. So not only is DEEBO in an offense where it's not pass-focused, right, where he's not getting the excessive amount of rushing work that he got 2 years ago, he's also getting outscored by the number 2 wide receiver in the offense, right? There's still plenty of injury concerns on top of that. And like I said, if DEEBO's not getting the crazy volume of rushing work that he did in 2021, which to me he won't unless both Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell go down to injuries, which is a possibility because those guys aren't the most durable. But unless those guys go down and we have a ton of injuries on this offense, DEEBO Samuel's not going to get that rushing work that he had 2 years ago. And if he doesn't have it, it's hard to see fantasy relevance, at least at a 3rd round price. To me, a 4th round value or a 5th round value is much more reasonable for a guy like DEEBO Samuel. And that's a big reason I'm not going to have him on any of my teams this year, because he won't fall that far. But Michael Pittman is another receiver I'm very skeptical on. He killed me last year, right, in a couple leagues. But Anthony Richardson is coming in as his quarterback, and accuracy, I mean, let's face it, as a Gators fan, I can say firsthand accuracy is not Anthony Richardson's best attribute, right? That's not what he's known for. And on the flip side, though, I mean, Michael Pittman last year with the carousel of quarterbacks that Indy had with Jeff Saturday as their coach, he did have about 100 catches last year, so it's possible he could do it again with an overall more talented quarterback, right, this year. But this team, I think, will be down a lot, and given the wide receiver room, I expect Michael Pittman to be double-teamed every single game, almost every single play, right? And that's going to make it hard for Michael Pittman to be fantasy relevant again. And it's even more likely that Anthony Richardson late in games, if Michael Pittman will be double-teamed, it's more likely that he's going to look other ways, right? Look into the slot position, which will be a guy like Josh Downs out of North Carolina that should get a lot of work this year. So if you want to draft a receiver from Indy, I think you're safer going with a Josh Downs late in your drafts compared to a Michael Pittman in the 4th round, 5th round, 6th round. It's just too big of a draft price to me to pay, right? But at the same time, he will be the number one in an offense, so I can see the argument. But to me, it's just too steep of a draft price in the 5th round. I think in the 7th round would be more comfortable for me. But again, he's not going to make it that far. He's not going to slip that far in most leagues. So I won't have Michael Pittman on my teams this season. To finish off here at the tight end position, as I wanted to try and get one at every position, but we'll have to touch on quarterbacks maybe in part 2. But Dalton Kincaid, I mean, I've been one of the most ambitious people about him and his upside going into the NFL in his rookie year. But I'm not this ambitious, right? Right now he's going as the tight end 11, and to me, he's not a tight end 1, right? And a tight end 11 at his draft price would mean that he's a starting tight end each and every week for a fantasy team. To me, he's not there yet. Only 3 tight ends in the history of fantasy football have finished in the top 10 at the tight end position in their rookie years. That is Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, and Jordan Reed all the way back in 2013. Shout out the Gators, right? 2 Gators on that list. I hate to brag, but it's on there. But only 5 tight ends have finished top 15 in their rookie years, right? And now it's Pat Freiermuth and Aaron Hernandez, of all people, are the additional 2 to that list. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham. Notice that those names weren't on those lists, and those are guys that we've known to be dominant fantasy tight ends for years and years in their prime. It takes time for these young tight ends to grow, to develop, to find a relevant role in their offenses. And to me, Dalton Kincaid, behind Dawson Knox, a guy who's a proven veteran, might not be there yet. He's going to bring them a lot of versatility in the offense, right? Especially in the red zone where he's a big target for Josh Allen to look. But to me, when you have guys like Kelce, Andrews, Gronk that didn't make these lists, you can't expect a guy like Dalton Kincaid to crack a list like a top 15, top 10 tight end this year. And to me, that's why he's like my tight end 16. But regardless, a lot of talent there. But let's recap. As we started with Dameon Pierce, and then we moved over to Ken Walker. 2 running backs to me that are running backs 15 and 16. Too steep of a draft price for me. If you can wait a round or two to draft those guys, that would be the perfect landing spot, right, to take a flyer. At the wide receiver position, we have DEEBO Samuel and Michael Pittman. Given DEEBO Samuel's he's not going to have the rushing work, and he's already been outscored by the counterpart receiver there, I'm worried about DEEBO at his draft price. And Michael Pittman, I mean, he's going to be double teamed almost every game with a rookie quarterback that isn't most known for his accuracy. So there's things to worry about there for Michael Pittman. And we closed off with Dalton Kincaid, as rookie tight ends don't usually finish relevant, right? So why take the risk in as the tight end 11 when there's other guys like David Njoku or Pat Freiermuth, right, that you can draft to be a more relevant and more stable option at the tight end position. But that is going to do it for today's show, as again, we're on the road to 500 subs on the channel. Quicker episode today, but that's the whole goal of these fantasy shows. Get in, get out with the relevant knowledge and move forward as we get closer to draft season. I do plan on maybe revisiting this idea closer to draft season, maybe in a month or 2, right? But without further ado, that's going to do it. Again, we're on the road to 500 subs, and we can't get there without you guys. I mean, we can't thank you guys enough for the success that we've already had this far, right? And we're approaching a year here on the channel. So, I mean, 500 subs would be the ultimate goal. But without further ado, we'll see you guys next Tuesday, as it's going to be the 4th of July. So, I mean, happy 4th to you guys. We're going to have something special planned. I'm not sure what it is yet, but we're going to have something special planned here on the channel for the next podcast. But have a great weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys then. Stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.